say what you do what you say, right? I mean, be able to execute what you wanted to do. A lot of times leaderships, they tend to sway a different momentum direction when they find difficulties or when the principle clash with your own interest, right? Sometimes it's very important to understand that the people's interest, everyone's interest, has to be above yours to be a good leader. You have to put other people in put yourself in their shoes and think, what would you do, right? And if you can find the best approach is when everyone benefit from the decision. But if it doesn't, when the tough time comes, what do you follow?
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to look at strategic leadership development, specifically in the eyes of how the leader evolves to be able to meet the demands of the company, the organization, and anything else that's going on around you. If you fail to evolve as a leader, I do think that you will struggle, you will stress over this stuff, and your acceleration, whether it be growth, money, valuations, whatever, will be slower because you're not evolving at the pace that you need to. A lot of leaders think that they can just show up every day and get the work done, and that's enough. But what I find, a lot of them look back and they realize, oh, I didn't develop the people around me to be able to handle this level of chaos, stress, technology, strategy, whatever it may be. So you want to continue to evolve. Strategic leadership development is the core of today's conversation. Our guest is the owner and founder, CEO of Fanale Drinks. They are a boba tea manufacturer and really incredible products that they make. They're selling to Asian restaurants and others the boba tea experience. It is amazing. David Fan is our guest, and David and I start talking about some of the challenges he had to overcome, an identity he had to let go of. And without telling you too much, he realized that he was a toxic leader early in his entrepreneurial career, and it was getting in the way of growth. And he had to grow beyond that. So today we talk about strategic leadership development in a way that can help you grow as a leader. I'm Gene Hammett. I am a CEO coach. We do executive coaching, manager coaching, and everything in between to help you really grow to that next level as an organization. Leadership development, I think, is one of the most important forces inside of a company's growth because it all comes down to people. And leadership is usually the missing ingredient. And the things that used to work no longer work anymore. So if you're kind of curious about the work we do, I've got a special offer for you. A chance to sit down with me and talk about your business and talk about what's getting in your way. And when you actually are honest with yourself, sometimes you need to talk to someone about this. You need a fresh perspective. You need something else that will be a catalyst to your own growth. And one of my longtime clients said this. He goes, it's kind of like you're shining a spotlight into the shadows of who I am. And sometimes it's not very comfortable in what I see. It's true, but it's also a force for growth. And I will help you do that if you're willing to stand in the heat of that transformation or evolution. And all you have to do is send me an email, gene@genehammett.com, and just tell me you heard me on the podcast. It makes it absolutely free. Otherwise, my team will try to charge you money for this. So if you mention the podcast, you will get that call for free with me. It's 30 minutes. It will change your life. And if you are facing a big opportunity, you make sure you want to have that because you want to align everything together, not just your strategy, but your people, your leadership, and the systems that really drive your success. So gene@genehammett.com is my email. I look forward to serving you. Just mention you heard it on the email or heard it on the podcast. And now here is the interview with David. David, how are you?
How's it going, Jin?
I am going great. Excited to have this conversation today. Before we dive into what we're really going to talk about, tell us about your business, Fanale Drinks.
Hi, my name is David Fan. I'm the owner, founder, and CEO of Fanale Drinks. And we also are the company owner for US Boba Company, which is the first and only US-made boba factory here in the United States. So our business supplies thousands, tens of thousands of stores, restaurants in the bubble tea ingredients, and help innovate and solution based for a lot of customers.
Fantastic. You built a business growing fast. I'm kind of curious, what's next for you? Like, what do you think is the next big thing for your business on the horizon?
Right. Currently, we just went through a evolvement into a more sophisticated ERP system. Or next evolvement, obviously, is to further develop our product line and be able to incorporate different cross-industry product into this industry. I'll give you an example. We can use something from the candy industries to be made into boba tea ingredients and create drinks in that way. The long-term goal for us is to make sure that we be able to contribute back to the community by offering even transparent company factories for factory tour and visits for younger generations, as well as innovation in more healthier alternatives for drinks. I mean, food needs to taste good. That's the first step, but it also has to also have to be healthy for you.
I agree. I will say I'm pretty late to the boba tea fad, but I love it. I found it a couple of years ago, and it's a very interesting, refreshing drink. And I mean, so many different flavors behind it. But thank you for what you do. I love the business, but I want to go deeper into this. We pride ourselves in this podcast to really focus on the leadership principles and the culture principles that drive success in a company. I'm going to leave it open to you. What do you think those principles are that drive your success?
Well, first of all, say what you do what you say, right? I mean, be able to execute what you wanted to do. A lot of times leaderships, they tend to sway a different momentum direction when they find difficulties or when the principle clash with your own interest, right? Sometimes it's very important to understand that the people's interest, everyone's interest, has to be above yours to be a good leader. You have to put other people in put yourself in their shoes and think, what would you do, right? And if you can find the best approach is when everyone benefit from the decision. But if it doesn't, when the tough time comes, what do you follow, right? I mean, that's one other thing. Having principles is very important. Let folks understanding what is your principles. What holds the team together is your principles and your understanding of the world, right? So a lot of folks, they're driven by profit numbers that come with it. If you develop team based on principles, understanding the true values that what you're trying to do here and how we're going to get there, until then, everything you achieve is just temporary, momentarily, because success will come, but it will not stay.
Love that. One of the things that I want you to talk about today is your interpretation of strategic leadership development. You felt like that was a driving force in the success of your company. So first of all, what is strategic leadership development for you?
Right. A couple of things, a couple of ways. First, I look at it is you got to have the right people. A lot of times people ask, how can you change people? Changing people is possible, but only to some extent. You have to have the proper filter to some extent that they are value and their thing. Because when you interact with your employees, that's 20, 30 years into their life already. Sometimes certain things you can change, some things you just have to filter. You want to have a team where they matches with your values and the ways you execute. Some people are slower, some people are faster, they're different. So find the right core competence team together first is the first step. And from there, they let the entire company into success. So the upper management, the core team that founded right around the founders or the owners is the key success to the business.
When you were starting your business, was leadership development a forethought, like intentional, or was it something that you had to develop as your company started to grow and scale?
Honestly speaking, I wasn't a very good leader. At one point, employee was calling me a toxic leader. I'm guilty to being a hustler. Like every leader or founders, you want things done. You want it done today or tomorrow, right? But the reality is we have to understand things it's not possible. Finding the core is understanding what's your max and min. That this is your expectation. If you're too high over your ability, then that's when things are unhappy. Your expectation has to match with the ability of your team and really understand what your team is capable of. Don't overshoot yourself. If not, you're going to be crashing down. Understanding taking baby steps, but the right direction is more important than success overnight.
David, you said something that's very vulnerable. So I want to appreciate you for saying that you used to be a toxic leader. I'm just curious, when you reflect back on that time, what made you realize it? Because it's a blind spot for a lot of people. They don't realize that they're a toxic leader. But what did you see looking back?
Well, first of all, when there's multiple incidents, this happens, right? I mean, obviously, sometimes as a person, you don't realize it right away. But as time you see that the success comes and gone. And what are the root cause of when the success are gone? You step enough potholes, be in enough obstacles, then you realize what's the root cause of these failures. Is it from the product that we developed? Is it from the sales team? Is it from the marketing or branding? No, none of that was the key matrix for my failures. It was the people that came and go. And most of them are because I'm so goal driven, they're all saying I'm a nice guy, I'm kind. However, it's the way that I portray myself. Sometimes it's how you have a conversation. So when I come across your book, How to Have a Tough Conversation, it was alignment, right? So I have my team order for me right away.
Yeah.
And by all means, they love to see that. I think vulnerability within leadership is okay. No one's perfect. Admit your fault, work on it. And just because you're the CEO or the leader doesn't mean that you're always right. And apologize when you're not. And have a hard understanding that we're all working towards success together. I have my shortcomings where your opinion help me identify that so I can go ahead and study upon it. Meanwhile, you might also have a shortcoming that I have to let you know as well. And if you can make yourself stronger at your weakest spot, that our whole team is going to be stronger.
Now, David mentioned toxic leadership, and that he was honest with himself about how he was showing up and how it was getting in the way. Now, the key behind this is being willing to look backwards at your own life and being honest with yourself. It's an exercise of self-reflection. I've got speeches where I talk about this all the time, and it is such a transformative experience for my own life. And I share this with you and invite you to sit down and really look back, be honest with yourself. Who are you being as a leader that gets in the way of what you want? Who are you being as a leader that gets in the way of what you want? It's a very powerful question. There's many other questions that go with it. I unpack in my coaching, but I give this to you today because I want you to be really honest with yourself and do some self-reflection. Maybe toxic leadership isn't your issue, but what is? If you struggle with a blind spot, it helps to talk with someone else about it, to help you uncover it, to help you explore it, to help you understand it. That's something I do for my clients, but if you're curious about that, I'd love to help you. Back to David. Back to the strategic leadership development. And again, thank you for sharing that with us and opening up a little bit, because I think a lot of people are too stoic and too ashamed to say that I've grown. I wear it like a badge of honor. I am a better person than I used to be. So thank you. But leadership development in this day and age is not easy, because I think a lot of people would rather put their head down and stay in a spreadsheet or figure out a problem. And really that's just burying themselves in the work. But you've said this a number of times. People are the heart of your business, your success. And every problem that you probably have can be traced back to someone's out of alignment, someone didn't communicate well with a person, and now we've got to, address the fire. How do you continue to evolve as a leader?
First of all, obviously, go to things that are irrelevant to your business. People make too much effort into the right development, which they think is the product, the channel, the business. But you have to spread your resource and time across your health, your family, right? And as well as self-learning. But where do you learn from? You learn from your peer, first of all. Get yourself in the right circle, right? Talk to successful mentors, identify who are your mentors, go to classes and schools. My next move is when I get to the next stage is I want to go back to school. I am doing a good 30, 40 or more, where I have multiple businesses, but to me, that does not make me feel happy and fulfilled. It makes me feel happy and fulfilled when I feel like I'm gonna become a better person in general. And I have a goal that we wanted to achieve, which is upward momentum, right? So school, the self-learning is very important, including, your sessions. These things are interesting. So, a lot of people say, you wanted to go ahead, let's just say we go to a doctor, right? You have a high glucose level, blood sugar. You say, okay, I'm going to eat less sugar. Does that really solve the problem? Or is it changing the lifestyle that matters? Eating healthier, exercising, right? Reduce your stress. All that stuff is going to matter. Not just because you don't eat sugar, your blood sugar is going to go down. That's what I'm trying to say.
I also bring out with a lot of my clients that leadership development isn't just about the external skills that we have, like holding people accountable or, strategic thinking and planning, decision making. It's more of an inside game than an outside game. What I mean by that is like the way we think about things. Like when you were a toxic leader, you were thinking about the goals and the numbers probably behind the business more than the people. But then you made a shift because you realized, oh, people are really important to our success.
Right.
Would you be able to highlight an inside shift that you made about your thinking that made you the leader that you are today?
I don't recall exactly when this shift happened. I think it happened in the last 2, 3 years, but initiated from a betrayal from one of my business partners and my core team back in right around COVID, right after COVID. I don't blame them for it. I felt like, first of all, the situation was very complicated. But the overall, I think, is coming from for me to understand the situation when that happens. It doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen over just for money. Money is a very important part of the betrayal, right? People are selfish, right? That's human nature. But then for it to whole team to basically left me at one spot really made me to dig deeper and see the shortcomings of myself. And I couldn't say I'm a different person, but at least I'm on the right path to become a better, not just businessman, but man in general. Hope that answers your question.
Now, David was talking about the shifts that he made in his own leadership. I want to focus on the shifts in mindset. My journey to be this coach of 15 years, you may think I would have the kind of confidence to say I've got it all figured out, but you know what? I'm still a work in progress because my mindset is still shifting. What used to work no longer works anymore. I have to build on top of it. Now, I do feel like I've built a strong foundation. I've built some tools around it. I'm willing to reach out and be coachable. And this is just my own journey. Are you willing to shift your mindset? Do you see the value of that? It's really hard to define your own mindset. In fact, I find that to be a very difficult question for anyone to answer. But there's a lot of other questions that go with it. I offered you one earlier in the podcast where I said, who are you being that gets in the way of your own leadership? Now, you can take the lens of your mindset. What mindset is getting in the way of what you want? And if you can come up with the answer, great. You know you've got it when you can write it down succinctly, and you know when you're in alignment with it or not. It's a yes or no. Now, you may be sort of in the middle with things, but that's just an out of alignment response, and you're trying to make yourself feel better. But I tell you this honestly, your shift in mindset is a key to your growth and your success is not just an entrepreneur and a leader, but as a human. Back to David. Yeah, I appreciate you kind of digging deep into that. We've talked about different inflection points in your strategic leadership development. And I'm going to kind of turn the direction toward you didn't get here alone. You've got to develop the people around you. And I'm kind of curious, right. What would we see across your organization in how people are developing that might be maybe a little bit unique, or maybe it's not unique, but it's special to you. What is it that we would actually see in terms of leadership development?
First of all, understanding what it is to be like a leader. So example is very important because our company is not that big when it first started, right? The core team is always around me. So my behavior is very important, right? So everyone has their shortcomings. How do you help them overcome their obstacles, right? And how do they work, how you get the team to work together, hold the same value. Our company has the best part of it is not only our benefit is the best, but the most important part of it is our team are very transparent. They speak what they think. That's the most important part. And when they between each other can transparent, no one hold each other's action for business as a budget. You just, like I said, say what you do what you say. Most importantly, be transparent and let other party know how they need to do better. So this is the first stage, is communication. Once you get that out of the way, it takes just time to slowly evolve your team. Obviously, there's catalysts that can happen, such trainings and seminars you can send them to go to. But the core thing is you got to get the people talk. And whenever there's issue, when they escalate to you, don't try to scratch the issue and worry about the drama. Because you know why? The smaller drama, if you don't clean up, it's going to be a bigger hole down the road where the whole ship might tank. So you want to start with the smaller things. As small as who dumped the trash.
Yeah.
Right. It's not fair why I'm always doing it. Right. Or, oh, why am I always packing this and that? You know, that kind of stuff. Smaller stuff that leads to bigger problems.
I agree with you. And many people are afraid to address those things and really do the work that it takes to have them. Like, I've given a playbook to a lot of people, and I joke when I say this, writing a book is hard, but you know, the hardest part of a book is not getting people to buy it. It's getting people to read it.
Yeah. People buy it because they want to fix something. They read it because they truly need it.
Yeah. But a lot of people think they buy it and that's good enough, right? Maybe they thumb through this and they pull one thing out of it. But and it's not about trying to sell my book. They just, in general, people are not willing to grow to be the leaders that they need to be. So it's really interesting that your company's success is built on the strategic leadership development. And I really appreciate you being here. One last question for you. I don't know if I've missed a highlight or an inflection point that you want to share with us in this journey of entrepreneurship. Is there anything else that we need to say before we wrap up today's call?
Well, first of all, thanks for James here to give me the interviews. And obviously, I am reading your book right now. I just got it, and a lot to learn. Very exciting. A lot of key points I never thought of, such as preparing yourself for the conversation. I think it's very important. A lot of time we jump into conversation too soon, too early without planning. But all I want to say is it's not easy to be a leader. Sometimes it's okay to be weak. And most importantly, is always stay true to your course and your principles. Right? It's not just because it's not just the surface level. I'm talking about things like heart. What is a good kind man needs to do, right? Things you're not supposed to do. It's very hard when you have a lot of business, a lot of challenges, and still stay true to that. And so far, it's been paying me success. And there's always nice and righteous people, even though there might be a few that is a little bit profit driven. That's fine, but that's just temporary. In the long haul, if we follow the right path to success, you will get there eventually. And by all means, it's very hard, but it's very rewarding at the same time.
I want to reflect a little bit about what you've taught us today. And really, it just goes back to you talking about you used to be a toxic leader. And many people don't do any reflection whatsoever. They just go about their day. They can blame other people. But you have grown to beyond that. And I say this from my whole heart. That's a sign of a great leader, and that you are going to have, continued success because you're willing to let go of an identity from the past to be the leader that you are today. That is the key to success. I've worked with, 100 or 150 Inc. 5000 level companies. And that's a true mark of success and great leadership, is being willing to grow. So thank you for sharing your journey with us here, David.
Thank you, Jim.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Wow, what a great interview with David. I love the honesty and transparency that he demonstrated, talking about being a toxic leader, talking about his own evolution and growth. Strategic leadership development isn't just something we talk about, it's something you live. And this is a great example of that. And I look forward to you leaning into this work. If I can help in any way, make sure you reach out to me, gene@genehammett.com. It's my email. And when you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, with the courage. We'll see you next time.